And it looks like we're live. Thanks so much, guys, for stopping by. I've been under the weather, unfortunately, because I've had a bit of fighting a cold. Not out of the woods, not
Thanks so much, guys,
Oh,
for
let's
stopping
cancel
by.
that.
I've been
One
under the
second.
weather.
Sorry about that, guys. Anyway, been under the weather and feeling a little better today. It's New Year's Eve, so you kind of have to feel better, right? And I had a friend that sent a sample by, and I wanted to share it. And since the nasal passages are completely clear, this would be a good time to do it. The Highland Park 25 year. It's got marked on here 45.7 ABV. Now, when I was looking at some other notes, I found that I was surprised that I also found a listing of 50.7. I'm not quite sure if there's an error involved here, but maybe there's two different ABV offerings on this. But 45.7 isn't bad. It's right at 46, and it's pretty much a good place to be. 50.7 would be even better, but that's leaning more towards your cat strength. So I'm thinking his 45.7 is probably correct. Thanks so much, Lee. Hopefully you're able to watch. Hey, Swami, thanks for stopping by. I've got the chat actually rolling here, and just gonna enjoy a nice Highland Park 25. I never had it before. I have had the 18, which is, I think, an exceptional whiskey, balanced. If you're looking for something balanced, a little bit of peat, a little bit of smoke, a little bit of sherry, a little bit of everything. It's not as much peat, of course, more of the smoke, but a lot of sherry notes, vegetal, floral. It's got a little bit of everything. Happy New Year, Swami. Good to see you. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to do the channel get together interview at some point again. Sorry about the mix up earlier. I was not able to hear you, and that's why I had to disconnect and try to reconnect to see if I could get it to work. But sometimes these things don't work out the way we plan, unfortunately. But hopefully everything sounds good on your end. It looks like the audio's doing well in the video, so we'll keep going. And hope you have a good time in Canada. And not really going out this evening. Still getting over the cold, so just kind of taking it easy. I know I'm getting a little early start at 4 p.m. Eastern time, but hey, you got to start somewhere, and I figure, well, we'll just try to pace ourselves throughout the evening. Oh my! The funny thing about the Highland Park 25 is you get a really nice, I call it dark fruit, more of the deep red. You get the sweet smell. Yeah, I want to say it's bourbon-esque. I know it's ex-bourbon and first fill of sherry casks in this, if I remember correctly. Um, which you're going to get a great balance. Either way, this is neat. I haven't touched it with water. Great legs, spread out, defined. That's what you want to see. You're going to get a nice mouth coat. Cinnamon. Definitely get the bourbon oak notes in there. You even get the sherry. Man, it's going to be a really nice balance. What you drinking, Swami? If you're drinking anything, I know it's a little early, but hopefully you have a nice bottle of something. I know you're not a huge fan of Snake, but you might see it back there. I was able to pick it up, and the scary thing is I had 3 or 4 drams like the first day I bought it, because I love this stuff because to me it's got a nice balance of the sherry and the I think it's kind of a hybrid like this guy. Definitely not as old, of course, but still I think it's pretty good. I don't blame you, Swami, for getting a later start. I've been so sick the last few days. I'll probably be lucky to make it to a little past midnight, if you know what I mean. But hanging in there, and glad you were able to stop by. Have you ever had the Highland Park 25 by chance, Swami? I'm not sure if you've. I do try to catch a show as much as I can. I haven't seen them all yet, but the ones that I have had, I've usually tried to find you doing the bottle and try to enjoy it with you virtually at the same time. It's always fun to do. Wow. You even get tropical notes. I didn't get it off the nose as much. It was more of the nose was a very broad spectrum, the balance that you would expect from a Highland Park. On the palate, man, it's a tropical infusion there too, which makes it even more interesting. I think that's what is missing. I won't say missing, but maybe what you would also want to get with the 18 is have a little bit of a tropical influence in there. I'm sure it's there slightly, but this is a little more profound, I'd say. On the price one, I can't either. Thankfully, I had a friend that was willing to trade some things, and being the season, he was probably feeling extremely generous, and I kowtow to him for his generosity. And I'm sure you're being a great reviewer yourself, you probably get a couple bottles here and there, or a couple samples at least here and there that you're like, wow, I'm so glad someone's willing to send me that, because there's no way in hell I'd be able to afford to just go out and buy it. The sad thing is, he also sent me a fire and an ice, which are two that I'd like to do a comparison review maybe in the next on a week or two. And the sad thing is, the ice actually got broken the way, so it didn't make it. So he graciously said he would replace that. And so when we get our hands on the ice, I'll be able to do a fire and ice comparison. I've heard that the ice suffers a little bit for a couple things, but I'm not sure if that's true. I always go on first hand accounts, so we'll see how that goes. But getting back to this puppy, man, and it's funny. I usually like to. This did sit out for at least 20 minutes before I even touched it. Important to do, in my opinion, for especially older scotches. Let them breathe a little bit. It's not going to hurt oxidation wise, just for sitting out for a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Usually people do it per year. I usually do 15 to 20 no matter what the year is. If it's something that's older than 12, 10 or 12. But nice, nice. I mean, and the funny thing I was going to say was, when you do the nose, and then you go for the taste, and then for another nose, you get so much more. I do, at least when I'm doing this. I mean, there's a bunch of toffee caramel goodness in here. It's just amazing. I'm going to put just a couple of drops. I mean, I'm talking like smidgen. Because you don't want to contaminate the goods. We're talking like, I know you can't see in here, but we're just gonna pop a couple drops in there just to wake it up a little bit, give it its just due, and see if that even brings some more out. And I have a feeling that I mean, typically when I pop a couple of drops in, it doesn't damage the good earthiness, the toffee, the caramel, and the fruit, but it also will bring out some floral, herbal properties that are on the lighter end. And with the heaviness of a good dram, sometimes it's so good that it actually kind of prevents those herbal and floral qualities from coming to the forefront, which is, if you want the overall experience, that's what you're really shooting for. Get honeysuckle, really nice, light floral notes. I'm not really good about picking apart like the lilacs from the lavender and all that yet, but I've been working on it, and this definitely has the lighter floral properties to it. But you still get that great tropical. It's kind of, the funny thing is, I don't want to jinx people from trying this, because if you're not a Balvenie fan, and I'm usually not, I do like their Caribbean cast, the 14. If you can imagine that on steroids, that's what this guy is kind of like, mixed with a bit of the Highland Park 18. You're not suffering anything from venturing above the 18, definitely with this, even with the price. I don't know what this goes for regularly. I'm sure it's higher than 160, I think, is what I see the 18 go for, around anywhere from 140 to 160 in American dollars. This is probably, I'm assuming, in the 250 to 300 range. Correct me if I'm wrong, Swami, on that. But that's my if I had a guesstimate, that's what it would probably be. Um, I think they have a 30, and that's probably at least 500 plus, I'm sure. Swami says he doesn't mind Blavini, but hates the price, and I'm kind of. It's funny because my first Belvini was a 20. No, I'm sorry, the really low double wood. I think it was a 12. It wasn't the 21. I've heard the Portwood and the double 17. I think it is. I can't remember the years, but the lowest end double wood was my first, and I wasn't really too keen on that. The Caribbean Cast 14 was really good. Um, I'm trying to think if I've had another one, but the Pete. They had the Pete week. I was able to try that. That was actually really good too. So I'm glad I didn't give up on my first experience with Belvinia, but the prices, I'm sure, yeah, it's kind of like Macallan. It's you're also not just paying for a good whiskey, but you're paying for the name, which I know a lot of us are kind of like, but you know. Mm. Water did not destroy this, thankfully, and it brought out a lot of the more of the sweeter tones. The pineapple's really kicking in there. The toffee's still there, caramel. It's kind of funny. The sherry notes are there, but they're definitely not as prominent to me as the bourbon notes. But since it's not a corn whiskey, I am very much into this dram. If it was corn, I would not. There would be no way. I do not like bourbon, even though I'm originally from Kentucky. But Scotch in hand, I can enjoy this all the time and never be bored. Somebody said the Highland Park 25 is around 500 to 600 in Quebec. That's Canadian money, I take it, which I think your all's exchange is pretty similar to ours at this point. I could be wrong because I know it fluctuates a lot. Sometimes it's half, sometimes it's within 10 cents to the dollar. But wow, that's pretty pricey if it's that high. But Highland Park's another name, you know. And I tell you what, when I'm on the subject of your statements versus the NAS, Highland Park executives, if you're listening, which I'm sure you're not, but if you ever do, I really, really wish that you guys would get in a room together and set out your 12, your 15, your 18, and this puppy, and maybe even your 30, 32, if you have any. And then set out your Valkyrie and your Dragon Legend and your full volume and all these other things, and really drink. And I'm sure you'll appreciate your statements more because, and I'm sure you're not getting away from it only because of the availability of the overall juice. But I really hope you guys, take into account that what the people really enjoy and what we're shooting for. Hey, Welsh, thanks for coming by. It's good to see you. Enjoying the Highland Park 25 here, and just talking about the Highland Park's unfortunate emphasis on the NAS lately, and it's just really a shame to me because I love their 12. Well, I like the 12. I love the 15. I adore the 18, and now that I've got to enjoy the 25, it's just amazing the quality difference between what I've had with this. I've tried the Valkyrie, the Dark Origins. Haven't tried the full volume yet. I've heard kind of iffy stories on that, and I'm trying to think of the Inara I won't count because that's a travel retail exclusive. I enjoyed it. It's very basic. I did. I've been looking for a couple other NASs, but the ones that I've had, and the Magnus is a good. That's probably actually my favorite. It's the cheapest one they offer so far that I'm aware of, and it's actually a good replacement for the Johnny Walker Black, but that's a whole other story. But overall, the higher priced ones, like the Valkyrie specifically and the Dark Origins, I just was not impressed by it compared to the 15, 18, and especially, I mean, this 25 is to die for. But the price, man, that's Swami was dead on. That's a tough deal. Walsh says that he thinks it's great, love to try that, but never paying the price. And yeah, that's the downfall, I think, of a lot of these popular distilleries. You would think that they wouldn't want to charge as much for their juice because of the demand, but it's just tough part of it. And the Fire and Ice is kind of similar. I think they're like $300 for a bottle of that. It's like, my goodness, is it really that good? But we'll find out soon once I get a chance to do the Fire and Ice. But you know, I'm kind of guessing that I'll probably want to. Probably rather spend that money on a Glengoyne. I think the 18 is probably a similar price, if not cheaper than $300. I know they have a 30. I don't know how high that is. I did try the 18 recently at a local bar in Baltimore. Great place called Birds of a Feather if you're ever in the area. This lady has a good selection. I was praying she still had a Lafroig 15 or 18 because she does have lots of different choices, but she was out of that. But she did crack open the Glengoyne 18 for me, and it was so good. Also had a Kilhoman original cast strength. I think it might be last year's 2016. Never had it before. It was outstanding. A lot of peanut brittle. Had more of the nutty notes to it to me. Got a lot of cashews and walnuts, but a really good mix with some sweet. The bourbon notes were there too. So it was a good balance. Great dram. I think it was 50. I'm sure it was in around 57% cast strength. So, have you had the? Have you already had the Kilhoman original cast strength? I'm just curious what you thought of it. I'm sure you being a fellow Kilhoman fan, you probably loved it as much as I did. If you haven't, definitely partake. Also, I had another glass there. I'm trying to remember what it was. They had the Kilhoman cast strength, had the Glengoyne 18, and one more. I'll remember later on, but good experience. I've got Welsh and Swami are chatting about the Highland Park and the Fire and Ice are the single biggest ripoff in the industry. Wow, that's a pretty bold statement there, Swami. I mean, I'm not going to dispute you, but that's pretty hardcore. And Welsh agrees. Limited edition of 30,000 bottles. Wow, that's a. Swami and I love all things Kilhoman. Oh, well, Welsh is a fellow fan as well. Yeah, that distillery has not done no wrong. I wasn't big into the 100% Island one because of the floral properties of that dram, but everything else, man, I've adored. And if you are into more of the heavier floral herbal notes on whiskey, I'm sure you guys adore the 100% Isla for sure. But I found a place that carries some really nice specialized bottles, and they have this Whiskey Barrel, which is a local Maryland distillery. They have their own Kilhoman cask that they've released, and this place that I go to in Maryland has it, and it's around $100. I'm thinking I might have to jump on that just for the experience of something a little different, pretty specialized, and see how that goes. But on this, the only thing, and I'm not going to knock it, it's hard to knock a 25-year-old whiskey for anything, but the finish, it's a bit dry. That's the only thing. Happy New Year, Santa Cruz. Thanks for stopping by. Doing the Highland Park 25. And outstanding nose, 5 stars. Outstanding palate, 5 stars. Finish is great at first. It's there. You still got that cask. I can just taste the oakiness and the caramelization and some toffee, butterscotch. I mean, and you can separate all that. But man, it's a dry finish. That's the only thing. And I'm trying to remember back if the 18 is as dry as this guy. I'm hesitant to say that the 18 is as dry as this. I remember that I think the finish of it might have been a little bit better in my opinion, but the palate is better on this and the nose is better on this than the 18. The finish I'm not quite sure of though. That's the only thing. It's got a nice burn, not overwhelming. I'm going to enjoy this dram. Lee, thanks again, my friend, and I'll try to return the favor as well as I can sometime. It'll be a while before I can afford anything like that, but I can save up possibly. What do you have in Santa Cruz, if anything? Thanks for stopping by. Welsh, you drinking anything tonight? Just curious. It's not really tonight yet. It's a little early for New Year's celebrations. It's 4:30. Go Ravens. I know there's not a lot of football fans probably on, but my Ravens are still have a chance. They beat the Bengals, so I'll be watching that after I click off here with you guys. And hope I feel better. I've been really fighting a really nasty cold, so things are looking up, and Daddy needs his medication. So Wes is gonna sip some Kilhoman right now. The Oloroso single cask. I don't think I have that one yet. Is that no? That's different than the PX cask too. Because Swami I know has had that one, and I've been having my eye on that one as well. Man, they have some great cask offerings. They got Sauternes I've seen. They had they had this one that I never even heard of until recently called Saltado Bay, I think it was. Santiago Bay, Saltado Bay, something like that. And I've never seen it. I don't think it's a travel retail. I'm not quite sure if it's available anymore, but I'm going to try my best to find that one. The Cool Point, Coull Point, I know is a travel retail. That one's going to be really hard to find unless I get a buddy that's going to be traveling around. Hint, Mark Broda out there, you know who I'm talking about. Scotch for Dummies, one of you guys maybe. Not sure if you ever travel to the States, Swami, but you know, maybe you can come by and stop by, and we'll have some drams here in Maryland if you ever want a road trip. And the only entry fee there would be is maybe a dram or two of the Kilhoman Cool Point. Be a good reason to come. And I'll be sure to I've got a couple of bookshelves I just got in this week for Christmas. Matter of fact, that I'm already stocking things on that'll make it worth your while. Let's see what else is going to. Oh, he's saying it's exclusive to the shop in Scotland. Oh, the Kilhoman Oloroso single cask is an exclusive just to Kilhoman there in Scotland, I guess. Man, that's the tough thing. Like I hear that happens with Lagavulin a lot. They don't risk a lot on NASs or even outside of their 12 cask strength 16 and distillers edition. That's your, you know, and they're right back here. And I love them and wish that they had more to offer. Because I would be all over trying as much as I do, like the Ardbegs, all the sorts of different kinds of Lafroig offerings. But they do have Lagavulin has a lot of distillery specialty offerings. A jazz festival I know is one, and I think it's a yearly thing. The Feshiel stuff, of course, and I think they do tend to have a lot of different exclusives in their shop as well, which I'd love to get my hands on. But you know how that goes. We'll see. Oh my! I wish I had a bottle of this 25 so bad. I wonder what's making the finish so dry though. That's my. I'm assuming it's the first fill sherry cask, but I could be wrong. Well, it says he's blessed to have access to independent bottlers too. Yeah, this store I found recently that is probably the best in Maryland. They do have a lot of independent bottling, and I found another one that has a good selection too. But it's the independent bottlers to me is a big risk. The reason I say that is because I've been dabbling and trying to hit all the distilleries in Scotland. And the group that we trade samples, we'll each get a few bottles of something. And typically, a lot of these tougher to find distilleries like Glenkeith and Mortlock and trying to think of some other ones. I got a Tormore back here. The Ben Nevis I got is a 10-year regular. Thank goodness it's a distillery option. The Tormore is a 21 from Barry's. I haven't had any of theirs, but some of these independent ballers seem hit or miss. Like the CWC, the exclusive malts guys are always dead on great. I haven't had a bad bottle from them. The classic cask, I was kind of iffy on this Mortlock. I actually ended up mixing it, blending it myself with some Glenkeith 12, which I think saved it from just its overall bland savory notes. It was okay. It was like a 3-star, 2.75 out of 5 kind of thing. And that's what you got to do, I guess, was when you get a bottle and you're kind of iffy on whether or not you really want to you're not really excited about finishing it. Sometimes if you find something that's got qualities that's missing, and it's a bottle itself that you're not really too keen about finishing, you put those suckers together and you get a nice overall well balanced dram. So that's something to think about. That's what I've kind of learned on my own, messing around with things. Will says keep an eye on them and select carefully. You can hit a bullseye. It's true. Now the CWC travel, the exclusive malts guys do great. I've had a couple of Lagavulin cast strengths. One was an 8-year. I think the other one was an 8-year that was like a sister cast to it, and they both were outstanding. The Chapter 7, I had I want to say it was a Kilhoman, but I could be wrong. I'll have to go back to my notes, dig that out. And that one was really good. It was done by the same distiller that does Kilhoman. I do remember that because I was at their booth at the Wixie Expo in Indianapolis. And at Chapter 7, I remember doing well. Gordon MacPhail's, I've heard, is pretty good. I'm trying to remember if I've ever had any of theirs. They have been tried and tested, I think, pretty well. I've got a couple back here. Alexander Murray, I'm itching to try, but I haven't cracked it open yet. I'm sure, I think Hayden Heads might be one. There's so many, Connoisseur's Choice. I did pick up something. I'm going to be picking up something by them from a distillery called Glenlossie. There's Glenturret that we're going to try. There's Strathmill. So there's a lot of distilleries we're going to be hitting that are outside of the norm, and hopefully it'll get some of you guys excited about what our experiences are. Go out to distiller.com/ profile/telex. You'll see some of my notes, and a lot of my friends are out there writing these reviews. Some of them are longer than others. I try to keep mine to like a paragraph. Nose, palate, finish. Might throw in a little color every once in a while, ABV, casks, types, and just the overall experience with a score. But some of these guys that have a lot more experience, that have been doing this for 30, 40 years, they will write essays on just an experience of one dram, and it's kind of nice to see, because you really can get into things that you might have missed on your first encounter, or even a third, fourth encounter on something, and appreciate it a little bit more. So, well, I'm not going to hold you guys up anymore. I really appreciate you stopping by for a quick one tonight, and I'll be doing some more live shows here soon with just things that have or samples that I haven't got to yet, and a couple bottles that'll be interesting. Some might not be so good, but it's always fun to try. And worst case scenario, if you don't, you end up getting something, like you said, you just try it, and worst case scenario, you can trade it for maybe for something else, or blend Solera bottle. I know Rob had a good video recently, Whiskey in the Six, about Solera bottle, Infinity bottle, another name for it. Haven't tried that yet. Usually, thankfully, the whiskey I get, I really want to drink it all. I don't want to save it, but 1 ounce per bottle is not a bad idea. It's kind of weird when you get into the bottles where I know he's throwing a lot of different things. He's trying to keep it all cask strength, but he's throwing like some sherry. He's throwing some peaty stuff, some different types of flavors. And I'm wondering, if you don't like focus on all like sherry, for example, like if you throw a PX, Oloroso, I think the Amoroso is a different type, and there's Fino, and if you don't focus on one type, doesn't it get a bit muddled? That's my question on the whole experiment. So the first time I try to do a Solera bottle or Infinity bottle for myself, I'll probably think about doing a focused one, like a peaty one, all peated whiskey, all sherry, or all like a certain distillery. Like, I know a 12 Bunnahabhain, a Kjellbenach, and Choichik, maybe the Marsala cask, an 18. I haven't tried yet. I'd love to. I love the 12, so I know I'm going to really love the 18. Maybe focus on one distillery and see how far that can go. It's just a thought. Well, thanks so much, Welsh, for the love. I appreciate it. And he says, I have some stuff I've been sitting on, and I'm beginning to wonder why. Yeah, I hear you there. Well, Sláinte mhath, and hopefully I'll catch you guys later on. Thanks for stopping by, and Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys hopefully with a review maybe this next week.